Hi, I'm Tom Marino. At Cohn-Resnick, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, the heart of academic medicine, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, New Jersey Natural Gas, proud to support education in our communities, Activists, in cooperation with the American Medicine Chess Challenge, and by the FIDELCO Group.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. I want to introduce our very special guest, Dr. Muriel Shore, who is the dean and professor of Felician College School of Nursing. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Let's talk about a topic that not a lot of people want to talk about, like to talk about, but we do need to talk about it. Aging. Gerontology, that's the field. What's our problem with aging?
Well, when you consider the fact that we have the baby boomers from 1946 to now, I mean, we've got about 78 million baby boomers that are going to be, by 2030, they're going to be about 80 years of age. So we have a lot of people who are living longer, you know that with longevity, sure. Life expectancy has changed. Certainly patterns of health have contributed to longevity. So we've got people living, you know, 85, 100 years of age, and really the society has not really planned for them. It's very difficult for them and for their families.
And to that end, spring of 2015 will be the 50th anniversary of your college, the School of Nursing, College of Nursing. But you also did some research at Felician, at the Institute for Gerontology, which you're in fact developing. You looked at what seniors were saying was missing, what the elderly were saying was missing. Gaps in how we help them, transportation, housing, issues of dementia, isolation, specialized health needs. Financial planning was also making me think about that. There are gaps in what we help, the way we help, and the way we are there for the elderly in terms of what they say they need, right? Talk about it. You
know, we have President Ann Prisco has been at the college now for a couple of years, and she's got a vision for an Institute for Gerontology, which really fits very well with the mission of Felician College. We're a Catholic Franciscan college, very, very caring, and really looking to meet the needs of the underserved. So we recognize that we've got this fastest growing population, and that we believe that the college has a role, which ultimately we plan to launch the Institute for Gerontology in 2016. We don't have all the answers, Steve, but what we've done is we started a planning process. We've assembled a group of 15 experts in the field. We actually went out to the providers of care, physicians, nurses, elder law attorneys, the payers, met with people at the state Human Services, right? We met with the Deputy Commissioner. Senator Gordon is from our district.
Senator Bob Gordon, right?
Senator Bob Gordon. So we asked everybody, we had 7 questions, which basically were, what do you see from your perspective?
What are the needs?
Right.
A needs assessment.
And then what we did is we looked at that, and those people serve on the advisory board. We then went out and we've been meeting with focus groups of seniors, really asking them and looking not only at people that are well enough to go to senior centers, but we even went to an assisted living facility to talk to people that are,
those are somewhat isolated too.
Yes.
What do they say they needed?
Well, there's a lot of things. Certainly, I could tell you this, housing is the #1 issue.
Housing.
Housing, and it's going to be transitional, because when you're age 65, you might be thinking about downsizing to something smaller, but if you get to be 85 and you now have chronic health conditions that you're dealing with, you probably would need some level of skilled care. So people are saying that there's a transition, but there's really no plan. We as a family have not planned for this. We didn't have finances for this. and they really don't know where to turn, and they're really very concerned. And as people even age beyond 85, you have a whole host of other problems.
Well, let's talk about it. Isolation. What do you mean?
Well, people want to live at home. You know, you've heard the saying, aging in place. People want to be home where they're comfortable in a community that they're familiar with. As they get older and they can't get out, they can't go shopping, they can't go to meetings, they don't have transportation, they're at home, and they might have some help come into the home for some hours to really take care of them, but they're isolated from other people. They don't feel stimulated, they don't feel part of a community. And this is a very big issue for them. And when you ask them the question, what is it that they need? It's kind of interesting. A lot of them said, we even want some intellectual stimulation. And so they don't feel like they're part of society any longer.
Question. Other than issues of dementia that we talked about, which was also identified as a need that's not being addressed, mental health needs, transportation, a range of others. Do you think on some level that one of the reasons we're not providing a lot of the, not responding to some of these needs is that we ourselves don't want to even deal with it? That we have some sort of psychological or emotional aversion to even facing, even though we have our parents who are, or grandparents, whatever it is, that we don't want to deal with it? So we're not having an honest discussion? Is that part of it?
You know, I have not found that to be the case, because with all the groups that we've been meeting with and talking to, and
I'm talking about the rest of society.
Okay,
I'm not talking about the opinion leaders. I'm not talking about the senators and the members of Congress and the members of the cabinet. I'm talking about people in society. You find a lot of people want to say, let's talk about aging.
They don't want to talk about that, but younger people are doing this. They're recognizing that they have to start financial planning much earlier. They see that with their parents. I think what I'm experiencing is people that have parents and they are experiencing what their parents are having. They're really beginning to raise questions about, what about my future? What plans will I have, and how am I going to meet my needs? So I am finding that.
And the institute that you're planning, the Institute for Gerontology, 2016?
2016.
Before I let you out of here, the goal ultimately will be?
Well, we want to work in partners with the community. Primarily, we're going to focus on Bergen County. You know, we can help prepare the workforce through the academic programs. We can partner for community education. We can be advocates for initiatives for policy and legislation. And we really want to be a partner. We're not going to be isolated. We want to do this with, it's going to take all of us working together to meet these gaps.
Dr. Muriel Shore, Dean and Professor, Felician College School of Nursing. I want to thank you for joining us and talking about an issue that affects all of us and those we love. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Stay with us one-on-one. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the offices of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation in Princeton. We are honored to have Dr. Risa Lavizzo-Mourey, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Steve.
Talk to us about the foundation. I mean, people hear about the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and its size, its impact, but not a lot of people know the real impact. Talk about it.
Well, we are a foundation that's, as you know, the largest foundation devoted solely to improving health and healthcare in this country. But what we're really excited about right now is a vision that we have to build a culture of health in this country where we strive to ensure that everyone in this generation and in future generations has the opportunity to lead a healthy life. And that is what we're making our North Star at the foundation.
You know, it's so interesting. You know, a lot of folks who lead foundations have executive backgrounds, fundraising backgrounds, but not everyone who leads a foundation has the background you have. You're a practicing physician for a few years.
We don't need to talk about how many.
I'm just saying you have an impressive background. But what it talks about here is it breaks down, you know, in the foundation report what this culture of health really is. And it breaks it down in a way that is real for people. And I want you to help us with this, if you could, Doctor. it says that a culture of health means reversing childhood obesity epidemic. Break that down. What does that mean?
For more than 30 years, the trajectory of obesity in this country for kids has been going like that. We know that when kids enter adulthood overweight or obese, they have a much higher probability of having chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, and that leads to disabilities and early deaths. So that by having so many kids with overweight or obesity as part of their makeup, we may be the first country that, the first generation that lives sicker and dies younger than their parents. And that is something that has never been a part of the way we thought about health in this country. So reversing that means creating the opportunity for kids to make the healthy choices the easy choices, so that when they go to school, there's healthy food, there's physical activity that's a regular part of their day. They learn about good nutrition practices, and then they can take those home. And they can walk home, not ride a bus or take a car home. It's creating the opportunity so that every day, all day, we have the opportunity to make healthy choices.
But you know what's interesting? A lot of folks, from a public policy point of view, which you have an impressive public policy background, people will talk about doing those things. But the foundation, in full disclosure, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation underwrites a lot of the work of public broadcasting and informing the public about important public policy, medical health issues has been a big part of the work of the foundation. But the fact is, everything you just talked about isn't something you just talk about from a public policy point of view. The foundation supports efforts to do those things. Talk about some of those efforts.
Well, we were just talking about what it would take to create a healthy environment for kids in schools. You can go to New Brunswick right now and see that in elementary school, kids are learning how to swim. And they have that opportunity to learn how to swim because now there's a new pool that's been built in New Brunswick that gives access to a new way for kids to be physically active. But it also, at that same fitness center, has classes and opportunities for kids to learn about nutrition.
Excuse me, is that through the Y?
No, it's actually a independent center right in New Brunswick.
Wait a minute, how do you find, it's not you alone, it's this terrific team you have here. Do you find community-based organizations, is that the role of the foundation, to partner with groups who are in the community doing these things and help them do what they may not be able to do for themselves because they don't have the resources?
That's certainly a big part of it. Another big part of it is getting leaders who don't think of themselves as being a part of creating a healthy environment to see their work as helping people be healthier. If you are an urban planner or an architect, you may not think of yourself as someone who promotes health, but step back for a moment and consider whether or not there are sidewalks or there are buildings that encourage physical activity. That's all in the domain of architects and urban planners. So part of what we do at the foundation is, as you say, find people that are already doing the good works, but we also try to partner with them, people who can augment that and work across all the domains that are needed in order to create health. New Brunswick is a great example because there's great political leadership, there's business leadership, there's a vibrant civic engagement, and that's what it's going to take to create a culture of health. And what we do is look for that all around the state of New Jersey and the country. Camden is another great example.
Dr. Jeff Brenner, I know some great work has been done there. Talk about that.
Well, he's one of my heroes.
He's a role model.
He is a role model, and a role model for so many people, because what he did was he took data, the data that most people just look at and don't know how to make sense of, and he said, I can see that there are 5% of the patients in Camden who are using upwards of 50% of the resources. Why? Because they don't have the kinds of services that would keep them out of the hospital. Things like transportation, housing, access to prescriptions. And he said there's got to be a better way. So he began looking for different models, different people, nurse practitioners, medical assistants, anyone who would get engaged to provide these services that actually kept people out of the hospital.
And help me, what is the foundation was very involved, has been very involved in helping. By the way, for those of you who don't know, log on to our website. You'll find out about Dr. Jeff Brenner. Also, the foundation's website will help you find out about him as well and his organization. But a groundbreaking model, nationally recognized, community-based health, if you will. But what does the foundation do to help Dr. Brenner and his work?
One of the things that we did was provide the kind of funding that he needed to do this analysis, and then to provide him with the resources to connect all of these various providers that needed to come together. And probably the most important thing that we did was to connect him with people like you and others around the country who can tell the story. Because if you are doing great work in one place and no one knows about it, it's not going to spread.
Why is that important? Talk about that, because the public awareness part of this is huge, because you are supporters of public broadcasting, have been for a long time. Why is it so important for the foundation to help the public better understand complex public policy issues, medical issues, healthcare?
We in this country have, as a fundamental part of our democracy, people understanding the problems and how to solve those problems. So we've always felt at the foundation that we had a central obligation to find out what works and then to communicate that, and to communicate it in ways that people can understand. And often that means bringing the data into real-life stories that speak to people. Jeff Brenner's work does that so beautifully, because it shows how when you can't get the care you need, bad things happen to people and they end up in hospitals. Communicating that in the ways in which he's able to change that has become a model for delivering care all around the country that people are now picking up and trying to replicate.
Thank you, Doctor. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Mr. Ahmed Salama is a math teacher at the PANTHER Academy in beautiful Paterson, New Jersey. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Now, the PANTHER Academy stands for Paterson and NASA Together for Higher Expectations and Results, right?
That's correct.
And it's a high school, 200 students, studying Earth and space science.
Yes.
What's the whole idea behind this?
Actually, PANTHER Academy is granted by NASA in 2003. And actually, we have planetarium. We are bright school. We have planetarium, so we have to
These are smart kids.
Most of them, yes, of course. All of them.
Yes, that's a good thing you clarified that. And these kids all want to go, they're interested in science in many ways, right? And this is part of our Classroom Close-Up partnership together with the New Jersey Education Association. And it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to see it. If you know our partnership with the NJEA, you also know that we have a video, these are video clips from Classroom Close-Up series. By the way, do yourself a favor, check out this extraordinary series. They have a whole range of Classroom Close-Up segments you can check out. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Well, everyone else is going to see it for the first time, all right?
Yes.
Classroom Close-Up, we'll come back and talk about it after this. This is great stuff, all about education and science. Check it out.
Here at the Great Falls in Paterson stands a statue of Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of our country. It overlooks the majestic view where Hamilton, in 1792, as Secretary of the Treasury, commissioned the construction of factories that used the Great Falls as a source of hydropower. As a result, Paterson became the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution.
Now, I'll let you know how to measure long distance. As you know,
222 years later, Ahmed Salama, a math teacher at the PANTHER Academy in Paterson, took his students on a class trip to the falls.
we can't jump to the bridge, so we could measure.
But they're not here for the history or the view.
How to measure the height. Two things we should know. What is that? Two essential things to know to measure the height. distance and elevation angle. We don't know the distance. We know he has the elevation. We could know the elevation angle, but we don't know the distance.
So Ahmed and his students brought some measuring tools. Some are common and some not so common, like the hypsometer.
It has an inverted protractor that measures the elevation and the depression angles.
We have to align the first position with the second position. We are over a perfect distance, which is 60 feet. Try to make it perfect. Can you see the tip of the bridge?
Yeah.
Theta 1 is what? 3?
3.
And theta 2 is what?
10. 10.
10. Mark down this. And then we move back about how many feet?
60.
Then we combine some angles to use it for our formula, which is theta 1 plus 2. What's theta 1 plus 2?
Today's trip was to show us how we can use trig equations and apply it to like real life situations. We can find out the height of something that we can't possibly find, like physically.
X is what?
60.
60.
So using the formula that we use, we got around 77 feet of the falls.
I think that it's great that we have a teacher that's like really like hands-on and cares about the students and helps them out a lot with like projects like this, and is always hands-on and behind us and tell us what to do and always helping us.
We don't know the distance between us and the bridge, but we could make it. We need to start from the beginning and teach the kids first how to be sincere to this country, how to be productive, how to be successful. And teacher, even if he use regular board or smart board, is not going to be effective enough. He should go outside and get involved with community. And our calculation, what? 77.
Wow. How much do you love what you do?
10 exponent 10. Like more than a million.
I'm looking at Amanda we saw and Flavio, and I think to myself, these are young men and women from the Patterson community.
Yes.
This is not a wealthy, for those watching in the tri-state area where we're seeing, this is not a wealthy community.
Right.
This is not a suburban community. They don't have all the advantages. What is this potentially doing for these two young people and all the others?
We have to take care of the education. We should have high quality of education. This is the only key to solve the problem of urban community. The people struggle to live well over there. So we have to take care of education. This is the key to solve this problem.
What's the key?
The key is to have high quality of education. We should prepare the kids to be successful, not during the college or school, but after, to be successful in their life.
But this gets science, you have technology, you have math, you're bringing it all together. And it looks like to me that you expect so much from them. And what do you say to all those who say, you can't expect that much from an inner city kid? You say?
I had many generations, students already are successful. And one of them, one of my students, her name is Tashira Bolt, she's right now is doing doctoral degree in mathematics.
A doctoral degree in mathematics, one of your students. What is that like for you as an educator? How does that make you feel?
I feel good, so good. I can't imagine that. And I'm so proud of her. This is one of my students, and I have many are successful.
So these students, how do they pick the Panther Academy? Do their parents pick? Do they pick? How do they wind up there?
They came randomly first, yes. But this year, we're watching them. We have to have exam before and interview. It's like orientation before, and then we'll pick them up.
So it's more challenging to get in.
Right.
I'm looking at this. You gave me this. Bob Morris, our great Emmy Award-winning director. Bob, do me a favor. Could you put up this? You're wearing this on your lapel. You gave this to me. What is this?
This is the Art of Transforming Function. It's the winner button, 2004, the first winner in MTNJ, Association of Mathematics Teachers in New Jersey.
This is something to be proud of.
Yes, and actually it came from a student. A student was learning a function from me, and he said, oh, function is ugly. I don't get it. I told him, no, functions are beautiful.
Functions are beautiful?
Yes.
Explain that.
Yeah. I told him, listen, do you use graphing calculator? He says, graphing calculator. He learned how to use the graphing calculator. I told him, okay, what is that? This is line. Okay, you grab the line. What is this? This is parabola. And what is this? And reflected over.
And they came up with this, and he colored it. And he won the first place. And right now he's working as a technology in some company. I don't remember.
So let me ask you, it's one thing to be in a classroom and to do this work, but you're big on getting out of the classroom, as we saw at the Patterson Falls. Why is it so big for you to get your kids out of the classroom?
Well, actually, teachers cannot teach among six walls.
Among six walls, cannot do it because?
No, it's cage for teacher, yes, yes. Even if you use the smart technology or computer or watch videos, it's not enough. They have to go outside.
What happens when you go outside?
Kids first feel good and enthusiastic to do whatever I ask them. Any kind of kids, any kind. Even, you know, who's misbehave sometimes. Oh yeah, I could do it. Measure it. Can I describe to the students in the wall what cube is? Cube? Some of them don't imagine. I have to tell them, touch it.
Touch it?
Yes. Feel it, measure it, and imagine it. That's it. This is the education.
And being at the Great Falls made all the difference?
Yes.
And the reaction you get from your colleagues, the other teachers, what do they say? What do they do?
They learn a lot from that, actually, and they loved it. They said, well, I haven't seen that before, and it's a new idea. I have presented that at Rutgers University, and I'm going to present it at Montclair, too, for like teachers' workshop.
You're a role model. Let me just say this. We have been partnering with your colleagues for a long time, and you're one of a long line, Ahmed Salama, at Panther Academy, of great educators who come here and inspire us every day. And to know that you are teaching children in this state gives us reason to have hope. We're proud of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Stay right there.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, MD Advantage, New Jersey Natural Gas, Activists, in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, and by the FIDELCO Group. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger, powering NJ.com, and by Commerce Magazine. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
An aneurysm almost took my life.
When I needed a heart transplant, survival rates mattered to me.
An irregular heartbeat could have ended my life.
I came to Robert Wood Johnson, and they repaired it through a hole smaller than a dime.
But thanks to robotic technology at RWJ, I'm still here.
That's why I chose RWJ.
At Robert Wood Johnson, being the best means breakthroughs in cardiovascular care happen every day.
RWJ and Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, the heart of academic medicine.